I just did like a Google search and came upon the hickory stick, if you will. That old meaning floating around out there where everybody's trying to come up with the true meaning of the combination of letters that spell out 666. Well, the history of that goes back some time ago, birthed on this land, if you will, because this land and all that adjacent land, Canada, Mexico, used to be all under the same hands. And the people known as the first, as in the first generation, to expand their learnings of this land, including the people that they knew and other people that ended up here, along with the plants and the animals, and their combined learnings made them the most highly knowledgeable people ever to step foot on this planet. And those people were very, very well protected for very, very good reasons, because of the knowledge that they held. And so going to the 666, much like the people that you probably don't know about, but in every group of people back then, there were these runners, and they would run information from one group of people to another group of people. And the running, we called it the weave, laying the beads and stuff like that. One day, there was a message carried through from one group of people to another group of people, and the message arrived not in the nick of time, okay? So the timing went something like this. To get in to speak to the knowledge, the people that held the knowledge, you had to go through some hoops, okay? And once you got to the cusp of where they resided, you had to announce yourself, and they would pull some of their people forward in numbers. So, on any given day, they might say, give me five. 5 people would show up at the door, and then they'd pass out these learnings, and then those 5 people would take out the learnings and stand around the person that was trying to get in and test them on those learnings. And if you passed the testing, you got to go in. That's the only way that you could ever get in, okay? So one of the knowledgeable people on the inside was asked, why do you always test your son? Why do you always test your son? You know, it's your son. He always shows up. You always usher, like, 10, 20 men, and he always passes every one of the tests, so why do you always test your son? And the knowledgeable one said, someday someone might appear at the forefront of where we are here and claim to be my son, and I need to know it's always my son coming through. And so they thought his ways were archaic and they wouldn't leave him alone. And they said, we know it's your son. Every time he comes, we don't want to test him anymore, so just, let him walk on through. So he decided, okay, if my son appears, just let him walk on through. So this boy, appearing to be a man, back then it was like you were never categorized as a man unless you were carrying with you some real knowledge, okay? So I don't care how old you were, you're still a boy. If you didn't have the knowledge to reach where they said, where the acceptable man level is, you're going to be a boy, okay? So anyways, this boy shows up at the forefront of the knowledgeable one's home and he's dressed in the same clothes as the real son. And so he, you know, obviously had some inside knowledge because he showed up and he knew he wasn't going to get tested because they made that change, okay? He knew he wasn't going to be tested. And so he entered and he went in to the father and he slayed the father. He killed the father. And it wasn't his son. And then they turned around and they blamed his son for it. Okay? And that right there was the meaning of 666, because it took an outside person with some inside knowledge, making it through a heavily guarded gate that was there to protect the knowledge on the inside. And he got through and he laid him down. That's the meaning, the true meaning of 666.